This is Holy Saturday, and we're looking at the burial of Jesus. And I'm reading from John 19, verses 38 to the end. Later, Joseph of Arimathea asked Pilate for the body of Jesus. Now, Joseph was a disciple of Jesus, but secretly, because he feared the Jews. With Pilate's permission, he came and took the body away. He was accompanied by Nicodemus, the man who had earlier visited Jesus by night. Nicodemus brought a mixture of myrrh and aloes, about 75 pounds. Taking Jesus' body, the two of them wrapped it with the spices in strips of linen. This was in accordance with the Jewish burial custom. At the time Jesus was crucified, there was a garden in the garden there was a new tomb in which no one had ever been laid. And because it was the Jewish day of preparation, and since the tomb was nearby, they laid Jesus there. So, Jesus had died, the disciples had fled. And who comes? There were two men, two powerful, influential and religious men. Nicodemus, who it says he came to Jesus by night, if you remember, and asked, how can he be born again? And he was a Pharisee, and Joseph of Arimathea, who was a prominent member of the Sanhedrin, each of them secret believers. They came together. Joseph was able to go to Pilate, so he must have been quite influential, got permission for the body of Jesus, and the two of them came together to bury Jesus. Nicodemus brought myrrh and aloes sufficient for a royal burial, far more than usual, very expensive. And the two of them together, I don't know what their conversation was, wrapped the body of Jesus. And there wasn't, where do you put the body of Jesus? But Joseph had a tomb, his own tomb, and they put him there.
So we see these two men carrying the body of Jesus to the tomb. And it's in a garden near to the place where he was crucified. So the burial place and the cross, they're very close together. And there's two things about these men, just building on what Diana's just shared, that two things that bonded them. There was, they lived in the dark in their own lives. They had a fear, we're told. Nicodemus came by night, as we've just been hearing. Joseph secretly for fear. Both were living in dark places in their lives. But they were bonded to the body of Jesus. I love the way that St. John tells us they take the body down. They wrap him in linen, the costly ointments, that royal burial of a king, lovingly and tenderly, so that fear and love, dark and light, are mingled together. And so we let these two men go, Joseph and Nicodemus, and we are shut in with the body of Jesus. St. Paul talks about being buried with Christ in his death, buried with Jesus. Our life is hidden with Christ in God. In this tomb, we are in Christ, we're with Christ. And whatever the darkness of our tomb is, I guess we all have our tombs. We feel shut in. And your tomb will be different from mine, but maybe we have things in common as well. For some, I think it could just be a feeling of desolation because you've lost things, lost all kinds of things through COVID, through how you feel about life. It's possible that your health is not as good as it could be. You may have financial or work problems, relationships, and just a sense, someone said to me the other day, just a sense of being in a battleground. And I thought that put it so well, of being overwhelmed sometimes by life, even though we can't always name it. A student said to me just the other day that she felt scared because of the exams coming up and fear of that and her future. One of our daughters with 3 very small kids, looking after them, all under 6, and she said she felt empty. Her tank was empty. You know how we talk about having an empty tank in us, and some of you will feel this. And I feel it to some extent very much in one sense at the moment. But whatever situation we're in, we are with Jesus. And he in this tomb, he is wrapped in the love of the Father. His last words on the cross, Father, into your hands I commit myself. Abba, his wonderful word for Father, into your hands. It's the same word he used in another tomb he was in Gethsemane, just a day or two before, Garden of Gethsemane. He's alone in that garden, and he says, Father, Abba. And he knows that the Abba Father is with us. And so each of us in this tomb, this evening, this day, can say, Father, Abba, into your hands I commit myself, in my darkness, in my fear, but also in my devotion to you, to be in this tomb, to be with you in the dark place. The words of the poet puts it so well. I come into the peace of wild things, or I come, as the poem goes on to say, I come into the presence of still water. And so I'm going to suggest that we have a few moments of quiet. We're going to have a cross put on our iPad or whatever you're using, and we should just be quiet for a short time and be still. Come into the peace of wild things, into the dark, but in peace. The peace of Jesus, he's with you. Abba, Father. Utter those words in this dark place and in this amazing way in which we can, in the absence of, we can feel the presence, if I can put it like that. Just let him fill you quietly with his presence in this tomb, and in your deep heart be able to say, Abba, Father, you are with me. I am not alone. Praise your holy name.
So when Jesus had died, what happened whilst he was in the tomb? There's an unusual verse in 1 Peter 3:19, which we speak of in the Creed. If you remember, there's the Apostles' Creed, and it says he was crucified under Pontius Pilate. He was crucified, dead and buried. He descended to hell, and the 3rd day he rose again. And in this 1 Peter, it speaks of Jesus preaching to those imprisoned in hell. Now, whatever that means, it has to mean that that's the darkest place possible. And this, when Jesus was freed from the constraints of his body, this was where he went. To those in the darkest place possible. And a fellow called Cranfield, who's a scholar, has said, it shows that there is nowhere that is beyond the reach of Christ's saving power. Isn't that lovely? So, however dark, however far away, however broken, however imprisoned, nothing is beyond the reach of Christ's saving power. And in that place, which was the tomb, the universal symbol of death. It doesn't matter whether you've faith or not, that's what the tomb means, death and finish. That's where God chose to bring life. If you think about it, there was Friday night, there was Saturday night. And somewhere between midnight, perhaps 4 in the morning, and dawn, death went in reverse. And resurrection came at the very place that represents death. Amazing God could do that. But that's for tomorrow. But today is the tomb, and the darkest place, there is God. There is Jesus preaching life.
And our final prayer for this day and this night. Father, into your hands I commit my life. We commit our lives in the darkness of the tomb. For you, Jesus, have delivered us from that darkness and draw us into your wonderful light. And so, deep in our hearts, we say, Abba, Father, our Father, into your hands we commit ourselves. Thank you.